Global Television News Prime, Independent National Electoral Commission fixes February 20, 2027 for presidential elections. In business, Central Bank of Nigeria imposes 10 million naira fine over unapproved checks design. On the foreign scene, All right, so on the foreign scene, Canadian Prime Minister calls mass shooting cruelty. And in sports, the National Institute of Sport secures 60 billion naira budget boost. Hello and welcome to all of you as in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Obong Soro. A quick reminder, Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTime channel 276. Nigeria's electoral umpire has officially fixed 20 of February 2027 for the presidential election, setting the stage for what promises to be another defining moment in the nation's democratic journey. Anita Patrick reports.
Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has rolled out a comprehensive timetable for the 2027 general elections, outlining key dates and activities that will guide political parties, candidates, and stakeholders in the build-up to the polls. The schedule details timelines for party primaries, submission of candidate nominations, commencement of campaigns, voter registration updates, and other critical pre-election processes. INEC says the early release of the timetable is aimed at giving political parties and aspirants ample time to prepare, while also enhancing transparency and credibility in the electoral process. The Commission reaffirmed its commitment to conducting free, fair, and credible elections, urging political parties to strictly adhere to the stipulated guidelines and timelines.
116 subsection 2, 132 subsection 2, and 178 subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, elections to the said offices shall hold not earlier than 150 days and not later than 30 days before the expiration of the term of office.
INEC chairman says the commission will leverage technologically through a mock presidential election, strengthen logistics planning, and intensify voter education to ensure improved efficiency in 2027. He also called on security agencies, civil society organizations, and the media to play their roles in safeguarding the integrity of the electoral process.
I'm committed to even having a mock presidential election so that whatever technology, you see, the delicate thing about technology is that if a technology is designed without being properly tested.
The 2027 general elections will see Nigerians elect the president and members of the National Assembly, as well as governors and state houses of assembly across the country. INEC maintains the strict compliance with the electoral calendar will be critical to delivering a credible and hitch-free general election in 2027. The INEC would also follow in constitution with the Electoral Amendments Act that is set in tone to fit that process of a transmission of results. Those are the times that has been set, and INEC and Nigerians are looking forward to see a successful flow of the 2027 general election. Anita Patrick reporting for Global TV News.
President Bola Tinubu says ethical leadership and strong institutions remain the surest path to peace, justice, and sustainable development. Tinubu made this known at the Global Council for Political Renewal Conference held in Cape Town, South Africa, where he was represented by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris. Presenting Nigeria's position on good governance, institutional reforms, and human rights, President Tinubu said ethical political conduct is no longer optional in a divided and fast-changing world, highlighting the ongoing people-centered social and economic intervention, youth-focused policies, and efforts to guide the responsible use of technology, including digital platforms. Exactly 50 years ago, on Friday, the 13th of February 1976, Nigeria was plunged into a state of mourning as the head of state, General Murtala Ramat Mohammed, was assassinated on his way from his Ikoyi residence to his office in Dodan Barracks in Lagos. In his special tribute, correspondent Shegu Said takes us down memory lane to who the man, General Murtala Mohammed, was and what he stood for.
Born in Kano on November 8, 1938, Murtala Mohammed joined the Nigeria Army in 1959 after graduating from the famous Barewa College, Zaria. He received his military training at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst in the United Kingdom as a regular combatant. After going through a series of military training and positions, Murtala became Nigeria's third military head of state on the 30th of July 1975, following a military takeover from General Yakubu Gowon's regime, who was attending the Organization of African Unity, OAU Summit in Kampala, Uganda. Among the achievements of his administration was an assertive foreign policy acknowledging the MPLA government in Angola. At the home front, a 50-member constitution drafting committee for a return to civil rule in 1979 was constituted. Panels were also set up to advise on retired public officers' assets, the location for a new federal capital, which is now Abuja, and the creation of additional 7 states. A low-profile policy for public officers was declared by the administration. Hence, General Murtala preferred to remain at his residence in Ikoyi, while the endearment of Murtala Mohammed by Nigerians 50 years after his demise. Former Senator Shehu Sani provides an answer.
We saw how within 48 hours he generated a national spirit where Nigerians become so patriotic about their country. Within 48 hours, the world now look at Nigeria. Within 48 hours, we become a continental force, a voice that can stood up to the Western world and speak to the face of powerful nations of the world.
And what lessons should the present and future leaders learn from late General Murtala Mohammed's leadership?
Murtala is not today remembered by the mansions he left for his children, or by the shopping malls he built for himself, or by the shares he has in oil companies and banks, but he's been known for his sacrifice to this country and his own personal poverty as a leader who decided not to amass wealth, not to acquire wealth, and not to loot the treasury of the country.
Many monuments in the country are dedicated to his memory, such as the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, while his portrait also adorns the 20 Naira note, the only currency bearing a military head of state. Shehu Said, reporting for Global Television News.
Members of the Joint National Assembly Conference Committee constituted to reconcile differences in the Electoral Amendments Bill passed separately by the Senate and House of Representatives are expected to meet on Monday as lawmakers move to transmit an harmonized version of the bill to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president. The joint panel, made up of members of both chambers, had been given a one-week window to resolve contentious provisions in the bill, notable those dealing with electronic transmission of election results. The decision to harmonize the bill follows the passage of different versions by the Senate and the House, particularly on the role of technology in results collation and transmission. Under legislative procedure, where both chambers pass varying texts of the same bill, a conference committee is set up to produce a single version acceptable to both sides before transmission to the president. The current amendment process is coming on the heels of controversies that trailed the 2023 general elections, especially the failure of the Independent National Electoral Commission to upload presidential election results on its results viewing portal in real time. The Progressive Youth Commissioners Forum has extolled the sterling leadership qualities of former governor of Katsina State, Aminu Bello Masari. The convener of the forum, Sergi Musa Ahmed, disclosed this as a dinner organized to honor the former governor as chairman of the National Convention Planning Committee 2026 of the All Progressive Congress, as well as his designation as zonal coordinator of the Renewed Hope Initiative. Our correspondent reports.
The convener of the forum, Sage Musa Ahmed, who is the Commissioner for Information, Jigawa State, praised Aminu Masari for his remarkable contributions to Nigeria's democratic development. He highlighted Masari's past leadership roles as the Speaker of the House of Representatives and Governor of Katsina State, describing him as a seasoned administrator committed to party unity and national progress. The Commissioner commended his efforts in promoting youth inclusion in governance and strengthening party structures across the region.
Today, the forum proudly gathered to honor Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari's CFR in recognition of his distinguished leadership, steadfast commitment to progressive governance, and enduring contribution to youth advancement and national development. His excellencies have done very well. He don't require any much introduction. Have done best as Speaker of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The Deputy Governor of Katsina State, Farouk Jobe, lauded Masari's leadership and administrative competence, noting his appointment as the chairman of the APC National Convention Planning Committee 2026 and zonal coordinator of the Renewed Hope Initiative as strategic to ensuring a successful and well-organized party convention.
A defining moment in our political journey, leaders of tested experience are called often, and Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari has consistently answered that call with dignity, wisdom, and purpose.
Responding, Aminu Masari thanked God for his guardians over the years and reaffirmed his commitment to discipline, integrity, and dedicated service to both the APC and the nation.
His responsibility not as honors alone, but as serious obligation to contribute meaningfully to national development and democratic consolidation. The Renewed Hope agenda represents the policy direction and the governing policy philosophy of this administration.
The gathering ended with youth commissioners pledging to mobilize grassroots support, intensify political awareness among young people, and work collectively towards sustaining the unity and progress of the APC.
The federal government has launched an emergency intervention to fight two major crop pests threatening tomato and sugarcane production nationwide. The Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, described the outbreak as a national agricultural emergency affecting harvest, farmer incomes, and agro-industrial investment. Aneta Patrick reports.
The initiative, flagged off in Kano at the Federal Crop Production Technology Transfer Station, targets the Tuta absoluta in tomatoes and African sugarcane borer. The Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, calls the outbreak a national agricultural emergency. The program will focus on farmer and extension worker sensitization, distribution of approved pest control inputs, and guidance on integrated pest management to contain infestations. Abdullahi stressed Nigeria's position as a leading tomato producer, supporting millions of jobs, and warned that recurring pest infestations and post-harvest losses are undermining productivity. On sugarcane, he highlighted the crop's role in job creation, import substitution, and ethanol production, adding that the African sugarcane borer threatens yields.
Important for experts to start to tell us, to prepare our minds that it's not only the production that matters. This production is susceptible to so many things. So we need to have to prepare ourselves and to be able to involve knowledge in whatever we do so that we can be advised appropriately.
Representing Kano State Governor, Commissioner for Agriculture, Danjuma Mahmood, described the intervention as timely, aligning with the state's agricultural transformation plans.
Nigeria remains one of the largest producers of tomatoes in Africa, and yet post-harvest losses and pest infestation, especially for Tuta absoluta, have continued to undermine productivity and farmer livelihoods. Similarly, sugarcane is vital to the domestic sugar industry and for backward integration policy. It also supports job creation in farming and agro-processing.
The federal government urges farmers to use the free input responsibly, warning against reckless pesticide application that could harm health and the environment. Anie T. Patrick reporting for Global TV News.
Across Nigeria, today, Muslim faithfuls gather for what is widely regarded as one of the most spiritual, significant Fridays of the year, the last Jumat before going Ramadan. For many, it is more than just a congregational prayer. It is a moment of reflection, repentance, and preparation for the holy month ahead. Sadiya Yakubu tells us more.
Cities like Kano, Kaduna, Lagos, and Abuja, mosques are filled earlier than before. Worshippers arrived with heightened anticipation, aware that next Friday's sermon will fall within Ramadan itself. The last Jum'ah before Ramadan is seen as a spiritual checkpoint, a final opportunity to calibrate intentions before a month of fasting, prayer, and sacrifice begins.
Being the last Friday before Ramadan, I would like to call on the general Ummah to be prepared to receive the month of Ramadan in good faith, to receive the month of Ramadan with the main salutation to Allah, as well as offering special prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us in this world, and may He also bless us in the life hereafter.
Across the country used today's sermon to remind believers that Ramadan is not only about abstaining from food and drink, but also about discipline, generosity, and renewed faith. Many imams urged Muslims to settle debt, mend broken relationships, and make sincere intentions before the crescent moon is sighted.
You know, Ramadan is about sacrifice. Ramadan is about unity. Ramadan is about devotion. Therefore, I call on Nigerians to make sacrifice to the unity and peace of this country. I call on Nigerians to be dedicated, to be devoted to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and offer a series of prayers and supplications so that we can have the mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within this month of Ramadan.
Beyond the spiritual dimension, today also marks the beginning of heightened Ramadan preparations. Markets are busier, charity organizations are mobilizing food distributions, families are preparing for sahur, the early morning meal, and iftar, the meal for breaking the fast. For some, this Friday carries emotional weight, especially those praying for the chance to witness another Ramadan. As the sun sets on this final Friday before Ramadan, anticipation builds across Nigeria. For millions, today is not simply the end of the week. It is a doorway to a sacred season of mercy, forgiveness, and spiritual renewal.
As the Moon Sighting Committee prepares for announcement in the coming days, Muslims nationwide are encouraged to begin preparations in earnest. Ramadan Mubarak in advance. Sadiya Yakubu for Global TV News.
You're watching the live broadcast of News Prime. News Prime continues after this weather forecast. We'll come with business, foreign, and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please do stay with us.
Glad you could join us. Let's take a look at what Saturday has in store. If you are in Cross River, Akwa Ibom, and River State, you might want to keep that umbrella close. Isolated thunderstorms are expected in the early hours. For the rest of the country, the morning should be calm with partly cloudy to sunny sky. A pretty decent start for the weekend. Now, heading up north is staying hot. Temperatures are expected to remain in their upper 30s. So make sure you stay hydrated and avoid prolonged sun exposure if you can. Looking towards the afternoon, there are some welcome relief on the way for residents of Kogi, Ondo, Edo, Anambra, Enugu, Imo, and parts of Edo State. Thunderstorms are likely later in the day, and those showers should help cool things down. The same goes for Bayelsa, Lagos, Delta, Rivers, Cross River, and Akwa Ibom. Afternoon thunderstorms are also expected to roll in, so plan your outdoor activities accordingly. So whether you're stepping out early or making afternoon plans, stay weather aware and stay safe. And that's your weather update for Saturday. I am Akami Samarda. Enjoy your weekend.
Now to business. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says banks and check printers now risk a fine of 10 million naira for using unauthorized security features. The Apex Bank declares this as the revised sanction grid of the Nigerian Check Standards and the Nigerian Check Printers Accreditation Scheme. The updated sanctions were announced in a notice signed by the Director, Banking Services Department, Amisu Abdullahi. Let's go to the foreign scene now. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa says organized crime is the most immediate threat to the country's democracy, society, and economic development. Speaking during his annual State of the Nation speech to the Parliament, President Ramaphosa said South Africa's primary focus this year is on stepping up the fight against organized crime and criminal syndicates. Uyi Agbomofwegbe reports. Okay, so that story will come in a subsequent bulletin. To sports now. The Confederation of African Football has received 3 official bids from Morocco, Ethiopia, on a joint bid from South Africa and Botswana to host the 2028 Africa Cup of Nations before Thursday's deadline for the submission of expressions of interest. AFCON 2028 will usher in CAF's new era of staging the tournament every 4 years. The change was announced by CAF President Patrice Motsepe during the just concluded edition in Morocco. Morocco hosted the tournament for the second time between December 2025 and January 2026, with the North Africans earning praise for setting a new infrastructural benchmark for the competition. As Global TV News Prime comes to an end, here's a recap of our top stories. The Independent National Electoral Commission has announced that the 2027 Presidential and National Assembly elections will hold on February 20, 2027, with governorship and state houses of assembly polls scheduled for March 6, 2027. In business, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says banks and check printers now risk a fine of 10 million naira for using unapproved security features. On the foreign scene, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney calls a mess of shooting in the country's remote town of Tumbler Ridge an act of unheard cruelty, declaring that the nation is in mourning. And in sports, we told you that the National Institute of Sports is set for a major transformation following strong backing from the National Assembly for a significant increase in its 2026 budget. That's it on News Prime. A quick reminder, Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. Kindly do follow us across all social media platforms now shown on your screen using @Global TV NG. I am Ubong Usoro. Bye for now.